All right. Well, Hillary Clinton's shameless hypocrisy is hitting new heights, as if we thought that couldn't happen. The self-proclaimed feminist is making controversial comments that fly in the face of the Me Too movement. Clinton is now defending her husband's infamous affair with former White House intern Monica Lewinsky.
In retrospect, do you think Bill should have resigned in the wake of the Monica Lewinsky scandal?
Absolutely not.
It wasn't an abuse of power?
No, no.
There are people who look at the incidents of the 90s and they say a president of the United States cannot have a consensual relationship with an intern. The power imbalance is too great.
Who was an adult.
So, Dana, your response to
Well,
that?
I just remember, I was going to date myself a little bit, but in 1997, when this all was going down, I was a staffer on Capitol Hill, and I remember thinking, wait a minute, she was the intern, and I took, this was wrong. I just knew that it was wrong, and I remember the feminist organizations not defending Monica Lewinsky. Remember, of course, how they tried to discredit not just Lewinsky, they called her a Looney Tune, not to mention Juanita Broderick and the other accusers. I also feel like she undercut the abuse and power position that has been used in sexual harassment cases in the workplace. That was the entire basis of the Me Too movement. And I think she's been on record saying how important that movement has been, but she undercut the entire thing. Look, her roadshow with Bill Clinton is going to be fascinating, and we will be able to get probably a block out of it for the next 365 days.
Greg, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I read that Bill Clinton was also about to do 23andMe till he found out it wasn't a dating site.
Yeah.
And this is, by the way, this whole thing with Monica Lewinsky isn't a first. If you Google Mimi Alford, similar story happened under JFK. It was an intern that he deflowered, I guess, in a swimming pool. Or am I right?
I think that sounds right.
Okay,
I'm
if
not
not,
sure.
I probably dreamt it.
I'm not going to fact check that.
But
for you,
anyway,
but I will assume you're correct.
To your point, no feminist would agree with what she said, because in the mind of the feminist, it's all about the power structure, not about age. It's that, here you have a very powerful man and a powerless woman. But you're talking to the wife, and a wife has a different way of looking at things. She's thinking that it's entirely possible that the 22-year-old knew what she was doing. That's how a wife would look to defend her husband. So I also see that. I see her point of view. I can't believe I'm actually defending Hillary here, but she's basically saying that woman, to quote Clinton, had a choice. She had a choice in this matter, too. I think
Such a hypocrite.
No, it is. But you know what? Humans are hypocrites when it comes to this stuff. When it happens to you and your wife, or you all of a sudden change the rules.
Yeah.
But, Pete, the question is, the power structure, of course, is a problem. The definition of sexual harassment is using a position of power to get what you want sexually out of someone who has less power than you do. The President of the United States with an intern, even if she was an adult, of course, is a perfect example of that situation. But as we've seen on the left, the power structure only really matters depending on the political outcome. The reason why feminists defended Clinton in the 90s was because he believed in abortion, so they defended him. And now that we have, different scenarios and different situations, they tend to have a different view of things. And so I'd like your opinion on how you feel about it.
It's actually amazing how much of it comes back to those cultural flashpoints.
Right.
Where do you stand ideologically on the things that I say I believe in? And as a result, I'll decide whether I believe you or don't believe you. So Hillary Clinton says, I believe all women except those women who were said that they were raped by my husband.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to believe them, and I'm going to deny them. And not only am I going to deny them, I'm going to shame them publicly, which she did multiple times. Of course, power dynamics are here. She made a bargain a long time ago. I stay with my husband. Yeah. I get to run for president. I get to lose twice. Now I get to go on tour with him and continue to pretend like I'm happy to be there. Listen, it's all speculation. I hope they have a great marriage. I don't disparage them that. But that bargain was made, and she every day has to walk that line. And it looks like blatant hypocrisy.
But, Juan, what about Hillary's role? Because every time Hillary opens her mouth, it's a gift to the Republican Party, especially before a midterm election. She's not being helpful on the Me Too issue at this point. So what's the end game for her? Is it all really just about herself, or do you think it does benefit the Democratic Party in some way?
No, I don't think it benefits Democrats, and I think we were talking about timing earlier with Messina's comments about Elizabeth Warren, but I think David Axelrod was onto this one when he said, hey, this is not what Democrats want to be talking about. I think my point here would be, look, I think she was asked if her husband should resign. And she said definitely not, because, and this is according to Monica Lewinsky, it was a consensual affair. Nobody ever said this was sexual harassment. This was Monica was interested in him, and he was interested in her.
But Monica Lewinsky came out in a piece for the Vanity Fair and said, look, at the time, yes, it was consensual, but there was, looking back on it now, the power structure of it doesn't exactly make it consensual.
No.
It really doesn't.
Well, I agree with that. So that's what you have to look back, though, Katie, right? So she said at the time it was consensual. That's why it didn't fall into that larger category. But I'm of a mind that if you go back to the Kennedy, you go back to, I mean, just throughout history, people have different responses at different times. We're at a Me Too, hashtag Me Too moment right now. And remember that Kavanaugh, in the midst of his hearings, he was blaming the Clintons. He said, oh, this is payback for the Clintons.
But
that was nonsense.
But the point that you're making is, I think, really important. It was a consensual relationship. And when things are consensual, the luxury of then changing your mind, looking back, it's not fair, because if there's, you know what I'm saying? I think, to your point, like if two people are in a relationship and then all of a sudden years later they go, looking back on it,
I think that's a fair point to make. However, it's the bigger argument of feminists at the time and still today fighting sexual harassment on the definition of someone with power, using that power against someone who doesn't have any. And when you have the president of the United States against an intern, setting the bar, of course against.
She was, look, you could argue she was interested in having access to the president.
His power against a young woman, as he did against many women.
But I think that women can also absolutely be entranced by a powerful man.
But the big broader problem, I would argue, and I'll let Dana get the final word, is the feminist argument of what the definition of sexual harassment is and excusing it for Bill Clinton while not.
Now, let's just be very clear. If I had said this, or let's just say, like, you know, if Ann Coulter had said this, everyone on the left would have come out and like wanted her head on a stake.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton says it, and all of them are silent. That's ridiculous.
Good point.
And this has been going on since 1997, and they have to keep revisiting it because they didn't deal with it then. They didn't deal with it appropriately then. They're not dealing with it appropriately now. Every single interview that they give, they have to answer for it again. So over and over again. Why do you think you lose? This is exactly why you lose. I've been mad since 1997.
She doesn't get mad that often, so that's a lot. But coming up, anti-Trump celebrity Alec Baldwin ratcheted up the rhetoric by urging fellow Democrats to overthrow the government.